Chapter 1 Arrival. The sun warmed Willow Blake's face as she stepped out of the cab, her sneakers crunching against the gravel driveway of her new college. A fresh breeze carried the scent of freshly cut grass and blooming flowers, and the chatter of students filled the air. She closed her eyes momentarily, letting the promise of a new start settle over her. Smells like fresh start and overpriced coffee, she quipped, glancing at Gia. Her girlfriend rolled her eyes, tugging her suitcase out of the trunk. You have got jokes already? We haven't even unpacked. Willow grinned, looking her sketchbook under one arm and grabbing her duffel bag. It's called Charm, babe. Get used to it. The campus spread out before them like a postcard. Sprawling lawns, towering trees, and a mix of old brick building and a modern glass architecture. A bulletin board caught Willow's eye as they walked towards the domes, plastered with colorful flyers. One in particular stood out. Art Showcase. Find your vision. Gia followed her gaze, her lips quirking into the knowing smile. Already scouting your next masterpiece? Always, Willow replied, brushing her fingers over the edge of the flyer before tucking it into her bag. Chapter 2 Roommates and Rival. Their dorm room was cozy, if a little cluttered. Posters of indie bands and abstract art covered the walls, and the faint scent of lavender lingered in the air. A girl sat cross-legged on one of the beds, strumming a guitar with casual expertise. Roomies! She exclaimed, looking up with a wide grin. Sweet. I'm Layla, your official guide to all things awesome on campus. Willow laughed, dropping her bag onto the empty bed. Nice to meet you. I am Willow and this is Gia. Layla grin widened. Cool. Guitar lessons are free, by the way, but only if you don't mind me stealing your snacks. Gia raised an eyebrow. Great! A musician and a thief! They all laughed, the tension of the first day melting away as Willow began unpacking her art supplies, setting her sketchbook and pencils on the desk like talismans. Chapter 3 Clash of the Titans. Later that day, Willow was in crowded lecture hall for her first class, Art in Action. The room buzzed with energy, students chatting and flipping through notebooks. At the front, a guy with a clipboard and perfectly styled hair was arranging papers like a general preparing for battle. All right, everyone, he called out, clapping his hands. Welcome to Art in Action, where creativity meets precision. And yes, there will be rules. Willow smirked, sliding into a seat by the window. Her sketchbooks was already open, her pencil moved quickly, fluidly. And that a voice drawled from the front is Jason Lin, the TA splash perfectionist. Willow glanced up, her eyes landing on the speaker, a girl leaning against a desk. With a sharp smile and sharper eyes, she exuded confidence. Her arms crossed as she looked over the room like she owned it. Jason shot her a withering look. Thank you, Alexia, for the unnecessary commentary. Alexia smirked. Just doing my civic duty. Jason ignored her and launched into introductions when it was Willow's turn. She stood confidently. Willow Blake, art major, nature inspires me. Its colors, its chaos, its calm. Everything about it. Alexia raised an eyebrow. Nature, huh? Guess you are aiming for cliché points. The room went quiet, tension crackling like static. Willow met Alexia's gaze, unfazed. And you are aiming for petty ones? She shot back, her tone light but firm. Laughter rippled through the room, and even Jason hid a small smile. Alexia's smirk flattered, her eyes narrowing. Willow returned to her seat, already scribbling in her sketchbook again, her heart beating fast. Chapter 4 Kindred Spirits. The greenhouse was a welcome escape after class. Willow wandered through rows of vibrant plants, the air thick with the scent of soil and greenery. She settled on a bench, sketchbook in hand, her pencil tracing the outline of a twisting vine. New face alert. Willow looked up to see a barefoot girl with a watering can, her curly hair tied back in a loose bun. She radiated energy, her smile warm and disarming. "What brings you to my jungle?" the girl asked, setting the can down. Willow smiled. "Looking for inspiration? Found it." The girl grinned, sitting on the edge of the bench. "Good answer. I'm Kalani, resident plant whisperer and eco warrior." Willow, aspiring artist. Kalani leaned close, her eyes bright. "We are having an eco circle tonight. You should come. Good vibes, great people, and maybe a little bit dirt under your nails." Willow chuckled. "Sounds tempting." "Don't think too hard," Kalani said, winking as she stood. "Nature's not waiting for anyone." Chapter 5 Sparks of Conflict. That evening, Willow sat cross-legged on the dorm room floor, sorting through her pencils. Gia leaned against the bed, scrolling through her phone. "How was the first day?" Gia asked, glancing up. Willow twirled a pencil between her fingers. "Met some interesting people, a perfectionist, a plant whisperer, and a professional pain in the ass." Gia laughed. "Sounds like a good mix. Think you will survive?" Willow smirked, leaning back against the wall. "Survive? Babe, I'm just getting started." Outside, the campus hummed with life. Somewhere in the distance, music played and the stars began to peek through the twilight. For Willow, this was just the beginning. Chapter 6 Planting Roots. The night air was cool as Willow made her way to the eco circle. Kelani had given her directions earlier, and now she followed the glow of candles arranged in a circle near the campus greenhouse. Students sat on blankets and cushions, chatting softly as they passed around small sapling in pots. Willow hesitated at the edge of the gathering, her sketchbook tucked under her arm. Kalani spotted her immediately and waved, her face lighting up. "You made it!" Kalani called, bounding over with her usual energy. "Welcome to the Circle of Hope, or as I like to call it, a dirt party." Willow laughed, glad to see I'm not overdressed. Kelani handed her a small spade and gestured to an empty cushion. "Find a spot, dig some soil, plant a drain." Willow knelt beside a quiet girl with a nose ring who was carefully patting dirt around a sapling. As Willow worked, the soft murmur of conversation filled the air. "This is what I needed," Willow admitted, glancing up at the stars. "It's peaceful." Kalani sat cross-legged nearby, tossing a pebble between her hands. "Nature has a way of reminding you what matters. Chaos and calm and rolled into one, kinda like life, right?" Before Willow could reply, a sharp voice cut through the tranquility. "Well, isn't this cozy?" Willow turned to see Alexia standing at the edge of a circle, arms crossed. Her tone was dripping with sarcasm and her gaze zeroed in on Willow. "Saving the planet one shrug at a time? How noble!" The quiet girl beside Willow shifted uncomfortably and Kelani's eyes narrowed. "Alexia," Kelani said evenly, "unless you are here to plant something, maybe you should find somewhere else to be." Alexia smirked. "Relax. I'm just observing. It's not every day you see such dedication to dirt." Willow's grip tightened on a spade, but she forced herself to stay calm. She met Alexia's gaze with a steady look. "Careful," Willow said lightly. "You might trip over all the sarcasm." A ripple of quiet laughter spread through the circle. Alexia's smirk faltered just for a moment before she turned on her heel and walked away. Kelani leaned toward Willow, her grin returning. "Tough guts, I like that." Willow smiled, brushing her hand off her jean. What can I say? I have got a soft spot for dirt and underdogs. Chapter 7 Late Night Reflections. In her dorm room, Willow sprawled across her bed, her sketchbook in front of her. The page was filled with swirling lines and shapes, a tree branching out in stars, its roots twisting into the ground like veins. Lila burst into the room, guitar slung over her shoulder. I have heard about your little showdown at the Eco Circle. You have got to Alexia's seal to disapproval already? Impressive. Willow laughed. She doesn't seem like the type of hand-out compliments. She's not, Lila said, flopping onto her bed. But if she is paying attention to you, it means she sees you as a threat. Welcome to the club. Gia glanced up from her laptop, a curious look in her eyes. What's her deal anyway? Alexia, Leila stretched out, propping her feet on the wall. She got a chin on her shoulder the size of this campus. A perfectionist with a superiority complex. Don't take it personally. Willow closed her sketchbook, her mind racing with ideas for her new drawing. Oh, it's not personal. It's a challenge, and I never back down from a challenge. Gia shook her head with a smile. Here we go. Willow grinned, leaning back against her pillows. The day had been long, full of introductions, challenges, and surprises, but she felt something stirring in her, a quiet certainty that she was exactly where she needed to be.